And welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the TV show. I'm Jay Black, live from Hawaii. Rhea, I woke up. You're going to be very impressed with me. I had to get up at 6 a.m.
It's
today.
so mean. It's so mean to start the show like that.
Yeah, it's not right. We
Well,
don't like it. It's raining and nasty right now here in Philadelphia.
I always say the hardest part of my job is talking to my wife while I'm in a place like this because she's got to say, the kids are really bad. The weather's terrible. What should I do? And I'm like, oh, yeah, the pool was so crowded this morning. It's very upsetting. Anyway, I'm Jay Black, joined by the lovely Rhea Hughes and also Angelo Cataldi, who is lovely to some. I don't know anybody, but some people must find him lovely. And we're here to talk TV. And I just want to jump right into it because, Angelo, I'm going to tell a quick story. You once kicked me off the air. You got so mad at me because you said, Jay,
Yeah.
it was a great idea for a radio bit. You said, come up with like five MVPs of TV. And this was early in my tenure of coming onto the show. And I wanted to get like real insidery. I wanted to give you TV from the inside. And I was choosing like VPs of development at like cable station. It was like the dumbest thing. And by like number three, you were like, get him off the air. Done. And you texted me afterwards and was like, Jay, it you can't go that obscure. This is a
Yeah,
regular show for regular humans. Let talk to them like regular people. And I was reminded of this because I was looking through The Ringer, I love The Ringer. I think it's a
so
great
do I.
culture and sports website. Their top 10, I thought, veered in this direction. I thought it went a little obscure because, of the top 10, and we'll
Oh,
read through it. What did you think of the top 10 that they picked? And Angelo, did you think it was too obscure? And do critics do this all the time, not picking shows that people are actually watching?
all right. I'm going to take you back now, God, to 1977. I had a course at Columbia by the film critic Judith Crist, who
Wow.
at the time was a serious film critic, but was doing her film reviews in TV Guide. And a
Wow.
lot of people in that class wanted to know how a serious film reviewer could be doing that. And her quote was, listen, if you're not speaking the language of the viewers, you're basically speaking to yourself. And
Wow.
and that's the Ringer, which I also have a high opinion of. Their list is awful. All right.
I
This is
agree.
one
Yeah.
of the worst lists I've ever seen. I won't do the top 10. I'll just do the top five. Rhea, have you seen Shogun?
No. It's
You're
17th
not.
century Japan. That's a no.
And let me tell you, it is basically just a redo of a very successful 1980 TV miniseries. Nothing creative about it. It's a ripoff of an old thing. Number two, industry. Jay, you know
No.
what industry is?
Yes, I
Okay.
think
Succession.
the industry. I think the industry is okay. I wouldn't put it in the top five, but I
It's
think
a ripoff of Succession. It's a ripoff of Succession, authorized by HBO's idiot savant with no savant, David Zaslav. All right? Again, not creative. It's a ripoff. Third, the talented Mr. Ripley. We never heard that title before, did we?
Never. Well, it was a movie, right? Wasn't it a movie that was pretty
Matt
successful?
Damon. It was a
Yes.
very good movie. It is again a stolen idea. And number four, they must love Japan because they got two of them in the top four. They got Shogun and Tokyo Vice. Tokyo Vice, Jay, is so great that it was canceled after two seasons.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then number five is Bad Monkey, which I like,
Yeah.
which was
Good.
far more
Very good.
accessible to the people, the viewers. So nowadays, these people that do these lists, everybody loves a list. It's easy to do, right? They're all just trying to impress you with their sophistication, which is what you were doing when I kick you off the show.
Yes,
And
very
now,
much
as I
so.
with you all the time, Jay,
Yeah.
you show almost no sophistication. So we cured you.
That is true. That is true. Rhea, what do you think? Do you think these critics try to go out of their way to do that, to try to show off how smart they are?
Well, I think when I was reading about the guy who did it, I think he put in there that he said he lived in Tokyo. So he
Oh,
may have been biased. And I'm like, I think you can take the May out of that. I mean, I think I read it in there. Here's what I will say, and I'm with Angelo. The only show I watched in that top 10 was Bad Monkey, which was terrific. Again, probably should have been ended after 6 episodes, but it's absolutely worth your time to watch. It's great. I
Right.
will say, so I went through them all. I was like, yeah, Fallout. I don't do apocalyptic. That's not for me.
Yeah.
I did I did find some things that I might be interested in. English teacher, which was in there. Expats. Although I have a question. Does Nicole Kidman like her family? Because I think she works 24/7. And God bless her. I
Yeah.
mean, she is still getting work. She's still terrific. That looked, I don't do vampire stuff. The evil one looked interesting to me when they described it's about demons and that the demons had trouble doing a Zoom call. I'm like, okay, that kind of sounds
That sounds
funny. I
funny.
might
It does.
watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of these shows, and like Angelo stated, the top five are just rehashes and stuff I won't watch. Couple of them intrigued me that I might watch them. But if you're doing a top 10 list, it's a top 10 list of shows that people have watched,
Yeah.
not what you are recommend.
Yeah.
We come on here and
Right.
recommend shows to watch that might not be in the
Right.
mainstream. That's what our show is. Top 10 list should be top 10 list of what people are familiar with.
Agreed. That's why everybody should ignore all other critics and only listen to us. Now,
Yes,
Right.
Rhea, forget you. You are a cord cutter, right? Like me, you don't
I
have
am. Yes.
anymore. So this next story intrigued me because the Paul Tyson fight
Mhm.
was so glitchy on Netflix that a group of
Yes.
users have gotten together and are suing Netflix for a class action suit for lying to their audience about what they can deliver. And I was thinking about the early days of cable. When it would get stormy out, I know it's stormy back home, and your cable would go fuzzy. I never once turned to my dad and said we should be suing Comcast about this. It's just you put up with it. You think they have a case here, or is this just people searching for money?
Now, here's what I think is people sue all the time. Like you can sue successfully if you have accidentally spilled hot coffee in the drive-through and get $10 million.
Yes.
Okay. Those lawsuits work all the time. Like I'll occasionally get some stuff from big companies that belong. You were part of a class action lawsuit and you are getting $1.88.
Yeah.
It will cost me more in gas to drive to the bank to actually deposit that check. So now, what my big concern about this is that Netflix is carrying Christmas NFL games.
Yeah.
I have great fear, and if they screw up the NFL games, they will have a class action lawsuit on their hands from a lot more people than miss the Paul Tyson fight.
Don't upset
Mm.
football fans, that's for sure. Angela, are you joining the lawsuit or what? Are you in on this?
No, I've been inspired by this, and I'm starting my own lawsuit. And it's something we should have all done as sports fans years and years ago. I am just suing the broadcast team for insulting my intelligence and creating pain and suffering. Because those were the worst. That was the worst
Yeah.
broadcast
It
team in
really was.
sports history. It
Yeah.
was so bad. And I realized, wow, then I could probably also do one on Chris Collinsworth, who I also cannot listen to for 5 minutes without feeling suicidal. Honestly, if I'm paying money and this is their marquee event and they can't show it to me without glitches and problems, right?
Right.
Yeah, I should feel the need for some compensation. I don't know what that would be monetarily, but I think it's a good signal to send to big corporations
Yeah.
because the only language they understand is lawsuits. That's
And
the
money.
only thing they know. If there's a threat, they're going to lose money. You know what they're going to do? They're going to fix what the problem is so that the next time they deliver on a big event like that, they get it right. So I applaud the lawsuit and I'm looking into doing it for those broad. Rosie Perez probably has a lot of money. I
Yeah.
should get some of it.
Angela, but she's a boxing fan, so she should be allowed on TV to talk about boxing. That's just how it works.
Yeah,
I just
it's great.
on a quick side note, Amazon does a good job, maybe not with the broadcast itself, but they don't
Al
look.
Michaels is coming back, by the way, for another year. He's been a phenomenal. I am not going to rip Al Michaels. He's been phenomenal
No,
for like 50 years.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the energy.
No.
So he just
He
doesn't,
doesn't.
and I
You're
didn't,
right.
and I'm surprised he's coming back another year. But Amazon does a real. I enjoy the broadcast on Thursday nights.
Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. All right, so Rhea, let's talk about this because we're gonna jump in with Jeselnik in a second. Did you happen to see the article I sent over about Taylor Sheridan?
Yes,
The
I did.
Vulture did an amazing article. Taylor Sheridan, if you don't know him, we've talked about him a lot on this show. He's a former actor, and I guess he's still an actor because he puts himself in his own shows, who has an empire at the Paramount Network. He's got 9 TV shows that he's either created or co-created. He writes a bunch of them himself. And his flagship show is Yellowstone, which is still the most popular show in America right now. And he put himself in Yellowstone. And I'll put the article in the podcast description. You have to check it out because it's hilarious. But Taylor Sheridan made his character the coolest guy alive. Every girl wants him. Every guy wants to be him. He basically made himself the James Bond of Yellowstone. And is this not the most embarrassing thing a human being can do? Does he have a right to do this? I mean, it's his own show, but don't you kind of feel like, come on, Taylor, this is just sad.
Listen, we all like if somebody would ever do a show about my life and it would be really boring. Like I want Sandra Bullock to do it. If we want to go lower, I want Jennifer Lawrence. I want like really super attractive women so that when people out there think of Rhea Hughes, they go, "Wow,
Wow.
okay." But I mean, this had Angelo just brought up Chris Collinsworth. Chris Collinsworth's son, Jack Collinsworth, got a network gig that he did not deserve. He's
Right.
not very good. On the flip side, Ian Eagle, and you and I know Ian Eagle, tremendous play-by-play. His son Noah Eagle,
Yeah.
very good. So, like, when you start putting yourself and your family members in, I mean, we all know about The Godfather. Which one was it? Was it Godfather 3 or 4
Three,
that
Sophia Coppola.
Sophia Coppola did?
Three.
But I guess if it's your show and you're putting yourself in it and it's popular, I can't argue with the guy. If I was a viewer, I'd be like, dude, you're totally lame. But I
Mm.
also, if it was my show and I thought I could get away with it, I know Angelo would put himself in a show.
Angelo, would you? Would you be the Angelo Cataldi, the
I
hottest man alive?
would not. Here's the thing about Taylor Sheridan. I have begun a very quiet boycott of him. I no longer watch anything he does now because
Really?
his main character, as you just pointed out, is the same thing, Mr. Macho. I found myself, I started with Yellowstone because I am infatuated with Kelly Riley. Oh,
Right.
she's spectacular. All right. But then I started, I don't like, I didn't like the rest of the characters. There were all these macho types, and it just made me feel less masculine. And I know that's hard to believe, but I don't like that. And the fact in this article it says, he's just having fun, right? He's having fun because he's making hundreds of millions of dollars. So
Unfathomable
stop with
amount
it.
of money.
Now I want to get to you because you have written
Yeah,
movies and stuff and have actually performed in said movies.
I've written
Have
parts
you
for
ever
myself.
considered have you ever considered writing a part for yourself which makes you a sex symbol?
No, no, Angelo, not even a
Why
little.
not?
Because I have a firm sense of reality. I just there's some guys walk into a room and women making noise and say, "Let me break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar," and some people walk into a room and they go, "Wow, he might have a good personality." I'm a personality guy. I'm aware of this. I'm okay with this. It's all right. So no,
All
I
right.
would never I put myself in as comic relief because that's where my strength is, and I write myself a part. I'm writing a part right now for a new movie, and there's a comedian in there that is in his 40s, and he just shows up every once in a while, says a few jokes, walks away. My wife is like, "That's your part, right?" And I said, "Yep, I'm not the good-looking guy. I'm the guy who shows up and makes a few jokes. That's my gig." But Angela, I got to
Hold
ask,
on, Jay.
yeah,
Jason Segel, a comedic actor like yourself, in one of his movies a while back, showed Full Frontal,
yes.
right? If the script required it, would you expose your penis?
Only if I could be assured that they are using widescreen lenses so they could get the entire thing in frame, Angelo. I, I wouldn't want to. If we're doing a 3D movie, maybe not. I don't want to scare the audience in a situation. So yes, of course I would.
Of
Well,
course you.
Taylor Sheridan, have you seen Landman yet? Have you watched the
No.
new? I really liked it. I watched it on the plane to Hawaii, and I got to tell you something, Angelo. Look up what Ali Larter looks like right now. You might remember
Yeah,
her
I love Ali Larter.
from
Landman, where is it?
that's on Paramount Plus. I think there are
Okay.
4 episodes in. I watched the first three. It's Billy Bob
Okay.
Thornton, and Ali Larter plays his ex-wife.
Oh,
I like
yes.
him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm
It
in.
is
I'm
very
in.
good. And Ali Lauder might be the most attractive 48-year-old woman who has ever lived. She is just phenomenal looking in this thing. To the point where I got
She's not
Wi-Fi
as
on the
good as
plane so I could look up who I was. I was like, what's going on? Who is this? She's
And
uh,
what happens on a plane if there's a nude scene and
that's
there's
interesting.
somebody sitting next to you? What do you do?
So I fast forward real quick. What do you do?
I had personal experience with somebody who's on this show, and his name is Angelo Cataldi. You forgot. We were going to spring training, and I was new to the laptop thing, and I downloaded a movie, and I'm literally sitting next to you. And also the nude scene came on, and you're like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "I don't know when I'm trying to hit buttons." You were
Oh,
literally
that's
sitting right
right.
next to me.
Yes. Yes, but I handle that smoothly.
You yelled to the entire cabin there was nude scenes.
Well, that leads actually pretty good into our next topic. Public offensiveness and Anthony Jeselnik. Angelo, I got to be
Yeah.
honest. I rewatched the Jeselnik special because I thought it was that good right before we did this. We asked our audience to weigh in. If you weren't listening last week, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, we were talking about the new Anthony Jeselnik special on Netflix, Bones and All, and offensive comedy in general and how people get away with it. And we got Dave L wrote, I'm a huge fan of Jeselnik, but I found Bones and All not funny at all. Very disappointed. Dave, I got to disagree. Anthony Jeselnik has been doing stand-up for 22 years. He gets away with it because the audience knows he's a decent guy, and dark humor is done with a wink and a hidden smile. Angela, you're shaking your head. Do you disagree with that sentiment, or?
No, he gets away with it because it's funny,
Yeah.
and he is proving something. And I'm gonna put him in a very very elite category. Richard Pryor,
Yeah.
George Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Sam Kinison. He's with them. Those guys got away with tons of stuff when they did it for
Yeah.
the same reason. They were funny. I'll bring up Tony Hinchcliffe, the guy
Mhm.
that performed at Donald Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden a couple of weeks before the election. And he thought he would roll out some defamatory Puerto Rican remarks, right? I think it would have played if somehow it was funny and it rolled back on him. See,
Yeah.
what Jeselnik ends up doing is he rolls it back on himself. He is also in his routine, his persona he's created. He is also the butt of a lot of the jokes that he tells.
Right.
He's what do they call it? He's somebody
Self-effacing.
that, yeah, exactly. And that's why it works. And I realize he's delving in some real tentative areas. Nobody's going in a lot of the areas he's going in with this comedy. To me, it's Anthony Jeselnik, Bones and All on Netflix, and I think it's among his best work. I think he's terrific.
I have a thought about Anthony Jeselnik. I want to get to it, but I want to get Rhea's opinion because I think you tried it and stopped after 5 minutes, Rhea.
Did. So I'll be really honest, I had never heard of him before. And I just had a friend over and we were watching TV, flipping around, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting. Let's watch him. And I will say through like the first 7 minutes, we kind of laughed. I was like, okay, this is kind of funny. And then when it got to around the 17 or 18-minute mark, I was just like, ugh, and again, it could be, Angelo's retired now. Jay, you do stand up. It could be I always have an ear for what can I get away with on the air?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm very
Right.
careful of where that line is. So I will be on, and I've
Let me
never
get
seen
Rhea.
what?
You are so right about that. Rhea
Yeah,
has in her brain, I think from the years we worked together,
yeah,
she has like a trigger that goes
I
off
do.
whenever we get into an area.
Yeah.
And I think you've conditioned yourself, but it's saved us. I would have been retired 25 years ago. No,
I would go into
Rhea,
our
I
breaks, Jay, and I
think
would be
that's what
like,
it is.
you need to stop right now. We
Yeah.
can't go any further with this.
Yeah.
So what I want to do, like for my homework, is because I saw the brilliance of where he was going with stuff. I got uncomfortable where he was going. So I like, people said I've been watching him for 20 years. I know like I saw like he's a guy you have to watch his
Mhm.
eyes and his facial expressions. I did
True.
I want to go back and watch because I saw the genius there. I just would be really honest that I was uncomfortable with the subject matter.
And I think that's fair. And I think he would probably, if he were here, go, I understand that. And
Yeah.
but I was thinking about this. You mentioned Carlin, Angelo, and I was just thinking, I realized watching it a second time, Jeselnik is more about language than he is about offending you. He makes left turns with language. And I think I can repeat this joke because I think this illustrates it perfectly. Said a friend of mine asked me if I would be a sperm donor for her baby. And I had to think about it really hard because that's a big decision. And I had to ask her, how old's your baby? And
I
that
think that's where I left. I think that's
That's
where I
it.
left the
That was
broadcast.
the worst joke. That
that
was
is
the
Yeah.
worst joke.
Yeah.
Higher set.
it's the
Yeah.
worst
I was
joke.
That
uncomfortable with that.
But
taking it out of context, people are going to go, "This guy is awful."
Yeah.
But you got to understand the persona he creates prior to that. But you're right. That was the joke. No
and
doubt
Yeah.
about it. That
but to
was the
me,
joke.
that's a language joke because he's setting
Yes.
you up. He's the
Yeah.
word
Yeah.
for is the joke.
Right.
It's the baby part
Right.
is the shock, but the joke is
Right.
built on how we interpret the word for. So to me, that's why he's Carlin-esque. So
It was too over the line for me. That's
which
all,
I
Yeah.
that's all I'm
It's
saying. But
way over the line. But Jay,
yeah,
Jay, I need to interview you for a second
yeah,
because you're a great stand-up comic. All right.
thank you.
How about his delivery?
Yeah.
His delivery to me is magical. It's so perfectly, you know how they say you got the timing?
Mhm.
His timing is second to none in the way he creates the setup for the punchline. And you're
Yeah.
right, twists a word around to give it different meaning. He's brilliant. He is, to me, right now, the most brilliant stand-up comic working.
And one of the things I love about him, not only is he a great stand-up, he's a practitioner of the art of stand-up who's not afraid to call out other stand-ups for, we
Yeah,
talked about this last week a little bit. He says there's no such thing as cancel culture. Cancel culture is wanting
exactly.
to say whatever you want and getting away with it, with no
Right,
consequences. The art is to figure out how to do it where nobody tries to cancel you. That's the
right.
art. And I love that he says that. It's
Jay,
worth checking out if you haven't
you
checked it
gave
out.
me a segue.
Yeah.
You gave me a segue because you're just not describing Anthony Jeselnik. You're describing Steven Singer. We would
Very
have on our
nicely
show
done.
all the time, right? Here's the thing about Steven Singer. He didn't care to tell you that all these other jewelers were a bunch of phonies. He would say it.
Yeah.
When he says the other corner of 8th and Walnut, he's referencing a jeweler. I don't even think they're there anymore. Who I'm on the other corner. I'm different than all these other guys on Jewelers Row. And that's what makes him great because he's honest. Honesty these days in the era of technology and social media, to just have somebody who's honest about what he's selling and how much he's selling it for is unique and refreshing. And that's why, as we are about a week and a half, 2 weeks outside of Christmas right now, go to the other corner of 8th Wall that Steven Singer will give you honesty the way no other jeweler will.
Absolutely.
and I will say this, like you said, Andrew, about 2 weeks out from Christmas, it will be the easiest Christmas shopping you'll do. You will go in, you know what you want, you know what you get. You're gonna give them your budget, tell them what you're interested in. They are not there to torture you all day. You will be in and out with a spectacular piece of jewelry for the special person in your life at an amazing price. Not on sale because all he does is amazing prices every day.
You go to IHateStevenSinger.com, which is in the podcast description. Scroll down right now and find it. Click on it. 2 weeks left to Christmas. What are you doing? You want to get divorced? You don't want to get divorced. Get a present, for the love of God. All right. One person who is not offensive, but is always delivering is Rhea Hughes, who has her British segment and a review of, is it a movie or is it a TV show, Joy?
It's a movie, and I have to give a hat tip to Angelo and Gail. Angelo sent me a text on Friday, and he said, "Hey, Gail and I watched this movie on Netflix called Joy. We think it's right up your alley." And I don't think Angelo realized how up my alley it was, but I'll explain it in a minute. So Joy is about in the movie in the late 1970s in England, where two doctors and an embryo nurse were on the forefront of developing IVF, in vitro fertilization, for women who were infertile, unable to have kids. And so that seems like, okay, that's probably not a real interesting movie. It is a real, like, this is nothing fancy. It is a very straightforward movie telling you the story of what I believe to be unbelievable heroes. Bill Nye plays the obstetrician. Um, they have Jean is the embryo nurse who helps, and so what they went through to develop IVF. I didn't, I was too young to remember this. They were called Frankenstein. Jean, the nurse, was shunned by her mother and
Wow.
not allowed to go to church because she was not doing God's will. Okay, so and the women, and I also don't want to leave out the women in this movie who were the first test subjects for IVF. Um, Everything they went through, and they get to where they finally, and this is no surprise, it winds up with Louise Brown, who was the first IVF baby. And you see when she's born, and the father and the mother had gone through, they were a young couple. They had been together since they were 19, 9 years of infertility to try to have a baby. And they handed the baby, and he goes, "Is she mine?" And it was just so, like I said, Bill Nye in it, he's the obstetrician. He's amazing in anything he does. But Angelo didn't know this was like an intensely personal movie for me because I went through IVF. I did like 5 years of it. I was considered a geriatric, pregnancy. And I did it for 5 years and nothing ever happened. And everything in this movie where you're watching the women who are the test subjects go through the, terminal disappointment of every month going, "I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant, I'm not pregnant." And I reminded Angelo that I took a break when the Phillies went to the World Series in 2008. And I told the doctor, I said, "Just need a break. It's going to be a really busy time," and blah, blah, blah. And 6 weeks went by, and he calls me and he's like, "Are you coming back?" And I go, "Well, I've just been really busy." And he goes, "Well, are you going to come back?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "Well, I'm a little tired." And he goes, "Have you taken a pregnancy test?" And I had not. And I took one, and I was.
Wow.
So, what these people, what these women, what these doctors did, I looked up the number. It's 12 million babies have been born because of IVF and in vitro fertilization. And the movie is called Joy. And it's an absolutely, I'm not going to tell you why it's called Joy because that's a great part of the movie, but it's a beautiful, straightforward, there's no bells and whistles. It just tells you the story of how this came about. And 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I cannot recommend it enough. And Angelo and Gail, I know you guys watched it and liked it.
That's lovely.
We loved it. And let me just say, I may have understood all that drama that you went through, but I don't remember. I don't remember most anything anymore. But I will say that the minute a movie is on and I see Bill Nye in it, I have
Yeah,
two thoughts. One
yeah,
is I know it's going to be good because he's awesome. And
yep.
two, I better call Rhea because this is British. And I can't tell you
Yes,
many things I'm encountering now that are in
yeah,
London or that have some
yeah,
British connection. And I always go, I got to get Rhea on this. Rhea knows these British things a lot better than I do.
yeah,
But it's a rare British show with Rhea that does not involve murder.
Yeah.
No
no,
one gets killed.
In fact,
It
the
no
was
one
very
gets
opposite of
killed.
murder.
surprising,
It's the opposite of murder.
but
It's
it's
bringing
great.
people back. Yeah.
Yes,
On
That's,
your way back from Hawaii, Jay, watch it. You will love it. It's
I will
yeah.
great.
check it out. I got 916 hours on the plane, so I might as well Check it out. Angelo, what did you watch this week? What's your pick?
Well, Joy was my number one pick of the week, but then I wanted to be inspired, and I saw something that was mind blowing. It's on HBO right now. It's on Max. It's called Superman: The Christopher Reeve Story.
I saw
And
Wow.
ads for this. Yeah.
what gets you about this story is this is a man in his 40s who had the greatest life you could ever have. He's one of the most spectacularly handsome men ever created.
Yeah.
He
Sure.
was a joy seeker who did lots of really wild stuff. He was super successful in films. He was Superman.
Yeah.
He had a great family. I mean, it all lined up. And then he was on a horse one day
Yeah.
and he fell off the horse and landed wrong. We see this all the time in football. If you get
Yeah.
hit on the crown of the head, that's where they put you in the stretcher, they take you out. And he lost the use of his limbs. And I mean, obviously, it totally changed not just his life, but the life of everyone around him. And it's so inspiring how this guy who had this incredibly great life adjusted to his new reality with dignity and heroism and inspired many others. And there's one thing
Wow.
about this other that I can't ignore, and that is there's actually two things. One is Robin Williams was his best friend. When you
Wow.
watch what Robin Williams does with Christopher Reeve to support his friend and how much he is a part of Christopher Reeve's final years, you begin to understand what Robin Williams was going through when he got his own death sentence with a diagnosis, which led to his own suicide. That it was almost like you could say he saw what Christopher went through and went, I can't do that. It's too much for me.
Wow.
Actually, leap with it. And the other thing was his wife, who was so amazing. What happens to her within a year after he passes? I don't want to say it because maybe a lot of people don't. You would say this is one of the saddest stories you've ever witnessed in your life. And when it's over, you feel inspired by these people. It's
Wow.
phenomenal.
Wow.
It's called Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. It's a documentary on Max, and I couldn't recommend it more highly.
Two things. One, I cried at the trailer, watching the
Oh,
trailer, so I know that
wow.
it's moving. And two, you asked me why I don't put myself in as sex symbols into a movie because people like Christopher Reeve exist. And you look
Yes.
at him and you go, I'm not the same
Wow.
species as whatever that is.
No.
No.
6'4", blue eyes, perfect build, just good looking dude.
Oh,
Uh,
oh man. And
so
his
that's
son is on Good Morning America. I don't know if
oh
you're aware,
really?
but his son is on Good Morning America.
No, I didn't know that.
I'm not sure what his first name, but his son is terrific on TV too. That he handed it down. It's
The
great.
powerful genes right there. And I want to end out, Angela, you've often challenged me to talk about something I don't like. Uh, and
Yeah.
I saw a movie this week I did not like. Now, Kyle Mooney, you might
What?
remember him
What?
from, yeah, I know. And here's the thing, I actively wanted to like it, Rhea. I wanted to like it. You might remember Kyle Mooney, Angelo, from Saturday Night Live. He long
Yeah.
haired guy used
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
really funny. I liked him a lot on SNL. He has a new A24 picture out called Y2K, which is a horror comedy romance coming of age movie set at the turn of this millennia where Y2K happens and in this small town all the robots and technology come to life and start killing kids and the hero right, and same they see Rhea, when I saw the ads for this I didn't shake my head. I pumped my arms and said yes, finally a movie for me where it's funny and dark and awful, but he didn't land the plane. The tone was
Ah,
all over the place. It wasn't exciting enough to be an action movie. It wasn't scary enough to be a horror movie. It wasn't funny enough to be a comedy. It was a mishmash of stuff that was put together in a very Frankenstein kind of way. Now, I've heard some rumors that the original cut of this was fantastic, but very dark and very over the top with the violence. And he was forced to cut it down. I don't know if that's true or not, but if there's a real version of this, I'd like to see it released because this was not a good movie. My son enjoyed it. He said he gave it a 3 out of 5, which isn't a huge
No.
It's a mild okay, but it's not a great flick. Avoid it if you can. If they release the actual version of it, might be worth checking out. That's Y2K in Pictures, written and directed by Kyle Mooney. I hope he gets another shot. I don't know if he will after this debacle.
All right, and that's in theaters right now, right?
In theaters right now, Angelo, and I did not like it. See, so it
Good,
does
thank you.
happen.
No way on earth I would. You described it, and I went, "Can I run faster away from that?" Anyway, let me give you what we do have. The list of Ringer. Let's set up for them that story so they can see how bad that list is. The only thing worth watching, according to Rhea and I, is Bad Monkey. That's on Apple Plus. Vince Vaughn. It's really, really good. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. Also, Rhea also mentioned, or Jay mentioned, Landman, which
Yeah.
he has just seen. Don't have an official review on it yet, but he said it's really good. It's on Paramount Plus. You could check that out. The Jeselnik special, if you got a strong stomach, Bones and All on Netflix. It's controversial. I think it's pretty good. It's really good, but it's going to upset a lot of people. Two fantastic things Rhea and I found. Joy on Netflix. You'll love it. And you'll also love the Christopher Reeve story, Superman, on Max. Do not bother to see Y2K in theaters because it's a stink bomb.
And I feel bad saying that, Kyle Mooney, if you're listening. I like your work. You can do better than this, though, pal. Come on.
This is your problem, Jay. You finally ripped somebody,
You're
and
too
now you're going to
nice.
like cry for 2 hours.
I,
Rip them. They deserve it. It stinks. It's waste people money and time. Rip them. Kyle Moody, get a haircut.
that I would agree with. You're too old to have that haircut, young man. Cut it now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. As always, you can check out Angelo Cataldi's book Loud on Amazon.com, on Audible.com, at AngeloCataldi.com. Get that for Christmas for someone that you love, or if they don't like Angelo, for someone that you hate. He doesn't care. Either way, buy the book. If you're looking for a Christmas present, you have a little bit of extra cash to spend, go to stevensinger.com. However much money you have, he can find you the exact right piece of jewelry for someone that you love. You can find my movie Tenants on Apple, Amazon, anywhere you buy movies, go do that. And we'll be back next week where I'll be home in dark and sad New Jersey, no longer bright and happy Hawaii. We'll be back next week. We love that you listen. Thanks, guys.